welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. All right. Welcome back to another episode of Turn Left, Indiana's own Dana Black. I'm excited because, again, there are so many candidates that are running for office. And so many of them you need to get to know. And this is a way for us to share with each other who these candidates are so that we can support them, right? It's really just that simple. We want to help these candidates. So in this episode, we are going to talk to Kim Townsend, who's running for House District 36. Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So listen, I got to ask, sis.
Yes.
You running for office? Ain't a lot of black folk out here that are running for office. Tell me how people have been inspired by your run, because I know they're telling you. I know they're telling you, especially young people.
Yes. So they are, and a lot of people are inspired, and I would say all ages, races, genders, everything. And I'm thankful for that. To me, that's a win. Is to know that you've been, your community looks at you as a leader, considers you a leader, considers you someone that can get the job done. And I would say that I've always known that I would do something like this one day. It's not a big surprise to me. And I don't think anybody else was really surprised either. So
I love it. All right. So tell the people who you are and where you come from.
All right. So, yes, I am Kimberly Townsend. People call me Kim. Some people call me Kimmy. Even my grandkids call me Kimmy. But I am a Anderson native. I've lived in Anderson all my life. I have a long history of service to the community and to my family as well. But to the community and my profession, I have been blessed to touch a lot of different corners and areas of the community and in my service. And I believe that all of that came together for this time. I am currently the CEO of the Anderson Housing Authority.
Love that.
And I have, I would say this is probably the best thing I've ever done in my life, is to serve in this position because I felt like it needed a lot of attention, and I believe that I could really turn it around, which I have done that. Prior, worked for the city of Anderson for over 20 years. Also had a couple years with the county under a very wonderful judge. So that's been my service. I do a lot of board work. I'm also a trustee for Ivy Tech.
Oh.
I'm the chair of the Madison County Chamber of Commerce. It's called the Alliance now. Serve on other boards, Homeless Task Force, Community Hospital Foundation, Anderson chapter of Black Expo.
Come on.
And so I'm just a busybody when it comes to, working in the community. It's my passion. It's my love. But I just saw that there was a need, to take it up a notch. So
yeah, that leads me to my next question. And I asked this of a lot of candidates. It sounds like you're real busy, right? Like, you already busy, and it sounds like you might be a little overqualified for this role. I'm being facetious when I say that, because I've talked to some of the people at the State House on the other side of the aisle. But what was that moment that made you say, you know what, now is the time. I'm running for House Rep?
Right. So I think that I was doing like an exploratory for another elected position. And this came up, and I never really saw myself in this role. But another thing I would say is, through my work with the Housing Authority, I also hold the position of Indiana chapter president for our housing authorities for NARO. And I go to DC a lot, and I sit down with senators. I sit down with our congressional leaders, and, advocate and talk to them about housing conditions. And, with HUD being a federal program, it's important that we get in there and do our advocacy. And so I had started seeing how a lot of the people that I serve, they're being priced out of a, not even a lavish, but just a sustainable lifestyle.
Mm.
And I contributed to decisions being made at the state level for, of course, locally. It stems from DC, but it trickles down. And I felt like we have representatives, and even my own representative, that are voting down party lines, voting for an agenda that is not conducive to the residents that live in House District 36.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like, my years of experience and my comfortability, speaking truth to power, looking at solutions, I felt like this was just right for me. But also, when God calls you, you have to answer.
Hey, no doubt. No doubt. Trust me. Listen, he ain't done with me yet either. Man,
Right.
always working on me. And I'm like, God, divine. Let's talk
Yeah.
about it for a minute.
Yes.
One of the things that we hear over and over again is that we need affordable housing at every economic level. What are you seeing in Anderson to give us an understanding of the crisis that we find ourselves in? Kind of share with us what you're seeing and then also offer up maybe some things that we should be doing differently.
So what Anderson was really built on General Motors. Back in the day, it was a very prosperous community, a lot of home ownership. Everybody had at least one parent that worked for GM. And slowly they started, moving out of the community. And we've been left decimated, just like Flint or some of those other cities. But we have the way it looks here, and I've done the research, working on other grant programs and things. We have a high percentage of low income. We have a low percentage of higher education. We have a lot of health issues. We are very low in the state when it comes to health outcomes. As far as I would say maybe we're high in the state for negative health outcomes. So I feel that, and now that our General Motors, former employees, they're now aged, houses are becoming, they're unable to afford repairs. We have a lot of out of town landlords coming in the community, buying up property, doing very little to fix the property up and putting it back on the market at a high rate, which is driving all other rental costs up. We have a high eviction rate. And we just have people that are on assistance, that are struggling, trying to get by, having to choose between, food, rent, gas in their cars now. That's a struggle.
Right.
And, our city has just raised our utility prices and water costs, just recently. And so, but we do have some great philanthropic organizations and people, but we just don't really have a master plan for Anderson or Madison County, Anderson being the largest city in the county and the county seat in my predominant area. We don't really have a master plan on how to solve a lot of these economic issues, social issues. So we're sitting next to number one, and to me that's ludicrous.
Right.
If we're in the 90s and we're sitting next to number one, I believe there's a chance
Right.
for us to improve. Plus, our school systems they, have had a lot of struggle with test scores and things like that. So I just feel that leadership is necessary so that we could help to, bring our community back. I see it coming back in some ways, but we still need, good decisions being made. We need people that care more about the community than their donor or their party, in order to really hear and work for the people.
Yeah, I feel that. So what is the major industry now in Anderson? Because I don't think a lot of people understand, like I've talked to a lot of candidates right now who are coming from rural Indiana. I wouldn't consider Anderson rural. I would consider it a bit more urban than rural, but it's also significantly smaller than obviously in Indianapolis or Fort Wayne. So,
yeah.
So what is the industry there right now?
Anderson used to be a part of Indianapolis's metropolitan statistical area, but it's now its own. But the major employer here right now are the hospitals.
Interesting.
And we have Nestle here. That's one of the larger employers. And we have Hoosier, it's Caesars now. And then I would say the city of Anderson government. And then we have a company was on a 10-year tax abatement that was employing a lot of people in the community, and they have announced that they're pulling out, and that's devastating.
Wow.
Their tax abatement is up, and I'm not saying that that's the connection, but I mean,
it's kind of coincidental, don't you think?
It's kind of coincidental, and so and that's another area I feel that, there needs to be more, strength and more stronger language in some of these tax abatement agreements, so that so you can't just pull out and pull out. I mean, you've got to, we abated your taxes for 10 years, but what are you going to give back to the community if you have to do this? General Motors was required to do a severance package with the city. And, they had a lot of property to clean up.
Right.
Because back then, when the factories were built, they weren't caring about asbestos and all these other toxic environments. But they had to clean up all these brownfield sites and former sites so that we could have new industry. So I think that, we have a health center that's on the bubble where they've lost Anthem. And you know what that's going to do eventually. So we're being attacked on all kinds of levels that hurt, the low income, our seniors, our people that are dealing with, serious health issues, and uninsured or underinsured. So.
Yeah. And I imagine your district is, yes, Anderson is a significant part of it, but you're also probably having to go out and talk to people outside in the more rural areas. And yes. I can also imagine that for those rural areas, those Anderson hospitals are where they go to get their medical care. Am I correct in that assumption?
You are absolutely correct. I've got three areas outside of Anderson. One is called Edgewood, which is a pretty, wealthy by, standards. There's wealth still there. And small town, also Chesterfield, which is just next to Daleville in Delaware County. And I also have Marklettville. They're dealing with the issue right now about these battery plants. It's called Jupiter. And they have absolutely proclaim that they don't want that in their community because there's a lot of farmland. So people are, some of these smaller communities are being encroached upon because of their vast farmland and dealing with the data centers and dealing with these battery plants. So I've been meeting, going to their meetings, public hearings, and I went to one today, and it's about, a moratorium on data centers. So they feel that, taken advantage of. They're in generational wealth with farms. That's where they've lived. That's been passed down from family to family. They're not willing to just give that up.
Right.
And some people choose to live in a rural area by choice.
Yeah.
By choice.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. Now, can you explain to us? I've heard, obviously I've had multiple conversations about the data centers, but this is the first time I've heard someone mention the battery plant. Let us know what's happening. Where are these batteries? What is the batteries for? Tell me, I don't know nothing about this one.
It's to they place them near power plants so that. And I don't know a whole lot, but I'll tell you what I know. They put them near power plants so that they can recharge if there's ever a power outage. Then you've got this backup. It's like having a backup battery pack, like from your phone, but it's on a scale of that it can repower the plant. So they are concerned, number one, about the aesthetics of it. They don't like the way it looks and how they've shown pictures that they're going to plant these little small trees, and they're showing it as the trees get bigger, but it's going to take 15 years
right.
20 years for a tree to mature. There've also been a lot of fires. And with these batteries, well, because those, what are those batteries? Lithium batteries, maybe?
Yes.
That they on fire. So imagine a field of a certain dedicated area. I don't know the square footage of anything, but it's pretty vast. It's pretty large in order to power a plant. It's not just like having even a generator in your own home. It takes a certain amount of strength to power your house. So imagine you're trying to power multiple houses with this plant. So they are very much against it, and in their community. And some have asked me what my thoughts were, and I just basically, I was just honest about it. I said, well, I don't live here, so I have to support what the community is saying, because you're the ones that have to live here. I don't have anything in with any of these companies. I'm not accepting no type of, what do you call them?
Yeah, I know, the corporate
or anything.
Corporate money. Yeah.
Corporate to promote them. I was thankful that I was able to make, even help make a decision not to endorse by letter because of the organization that I serve on. It's not fair to the people when they don't have the means like some of the corporations do. All they have is their voice, their land, their deed, their legacy, and they have to take all that into the fight and say, we don't want this. But sometimes it's not enough. They get ignored. So I think that's why, it came up. I said, well, you guys have an opportunity to break this supermajority, which consists of almost one voice, and get some new voices in there to support what you all want.
Is it resonating with your constituents or potential constituents?
I get a very good reception going to these communities. I think that they've seen a lot and seen that what they were promised has not been delivered. They don't have a better life. They don't have more wealth. They don't have better insurance. They don't have lower gas prices, lower grocery prices. All of that has been a myth. It's been self enrichment with some of our officials.
Yeah, I know. So I was talking to somebody, and they were like, it was Ross Thomas. He's running for state senate, and he was talking about how, we have officials that will vote for bad policy that harms the community for Super Bowl tickets, right?
Yep.
Like it's just crazy.
Yes.
you have touched on a lot of different areas that folks are concerned about. You mentioned healthcare outcomes, and
Yes.
we know that Indiana as a whole, we rank poorly when it
Yes.
comes to health outcomes. When you think about your role in the state house, what are some ways that you think, or some ideas that you have that could be beneficial to all Hoosiers, no matter where they are in the state? Because you're going to be voting on stuff that impacts the whole state anyway, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was asked, I did meet with the and IBLC. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
IBLC. And they were like, what would you do on day one? I said, I want to work on housing. And what committee would you want to work on? Housing. Even though they don't have a housing committee, that's one thing I'm hoping that I can get done.
Uh-huh.
We absolutely need a housing committee at the state level, because that is one of the most pertinent, issues right now. It's one of the most, it's of the basic need,
Mm-hmm.
with besides food and clothing,
Mm-hmm.
is shelter. We have a growing homeless
Mm-hmm.
issue that is affecting economics, it's affecting mental health, it's affecting communities, it's affecting public safety. So I feel that one thing I feel, Dana, is my strength, and I'll tell you why. I've always had to work in a bipartisan fashion.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked under Republican mayors, I've worked under Democrat mayors. My board at the Housing Authority is set up through state statute with a balance of Democrats and Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
And when we come into meetings, we leave the politics out at the door.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that for my board that has a mixture of Republicans and Democrats to say, yes, Kim, we give you our blessing as our, CEO to run for this office, because they know my heart, they know my passion. So I'm hoping that because we are in a supermajority, that even if we break the supermajority, we will still be the minority party. How are we going to work across the aisle to get anything done if we don't, govern ourselves in a bipartisan frame of mind? My strength is with people, and I have to work. I don't look at your party affiliation. I look at where, I will look at, your efforts. I look at where your heart is, where your money is going to,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What you decide to lift up and explore solutions for.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel that I can work across the aisle, and I believe that I will be received in some ways because I have a knack for working with people.
Yeah.
Of every background.
I love that.
Yes.
I love that. And we need that. And if I'm going to ask a question, and if you don't want to answer, say, Dana, we can move past that. But your name first came to my attention when it was about gaining access to the ballot altogether. And you had to literally fight, right, to just get your name on the ballot. Trust me, Lindsey Brown was telling me all about it. Everybody was letting me know. And I watched the hearing. Most people would have been like, you know what? F it. I got all these other things I got going on. I don't need this drama in my life. What was it inside you that made you say, nah, y'all not finna clown me? And if you want to tell the story, you could tell the story of what happened.
Oh, I want to.
Oh, well, tell that. Look, I'm going to shut up. Tell the story. Tell the story.
I had already, again, like I said at the beginning, I had already started kind of exploring running for office. So I knew that in my role with the Housing Authority that we receive federal funds and I work on federal programs, which has been my whole career. I knew that I needed to get an opinion. Can I run? Mm-hmm. So I found out that a lady, African-American lady in Muncie that was working for the city of Muncie, found out that she had got an opinion because she ran for mayor.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, okay, that's similar to me. So I ended up writing last year, Dana, even before any of the state rep, run came to play. And I told them who I was, what my job was, how the agency is formed and the board and the money. I said I wasn't 100% paid with federal funds because of my nonprofit helps support my salary, all that. So they wrote me back, and this is the Office of Special Counsel in Washington, D.C., Hatch Act Division. So they're the ones that administer the rule and govern over it. They have attorneys and everything. So they came back and said, yes, you can run. You've said that you're not 100% paid. So I already had that letter. So anyway, when I decided that I was going to run, I lifted it up to the Indianapolis HUD field office. That's our field office for Indiana. And I let them know that I wanted to run and that this is my letter. And so they took it and they lifted it up to HUD's Office of General Counsel. So they came back and cleared me and said, yeah, we're going to uphold the Office of Special Counsel. So right before the last, you got a certain time to withdraw your candidacy. So I had got a call. I was told by that former Republican party chair had alerted someone that said they're going to challenge my candidacy based on the Hatch Act. And I was like, okay. And they were told me, well, he said you can call him. And so I did. He said, well, they're going to challenge you. And Kim, you're not eligible. I said, yes, I am. I said, it's an insult to me for you to think that I did not do my due diligence before filing to run in this. I've got a lot to lose, So, he kept on and finally he said, I got everything I need. I said, so, I would just tell whoever's behind the challenge, they better have their facts straight. So he said, well, show me what you got. And then maybe we can resolve it here. I said, no, challenge accepted. I'll see you at the hearing. They wanted me to just drop off.
They didn't want you to deal with it.
They thought I was going to be afraid. And I said, no, because nothing, I feel that everything that I've tried to do in my life that was worth anything was a fight. And I said, God did not call me to leave me stranded right here. And I believe that it's up to me to go through the fight and prove, that I am eligible to run. I have a lot at stake. I have a whole career on the line. And so if you saw that video, the rest is history.
Yeah.
They felt comfortable going in there. They put a young guy up from the Heritage Foundation to file the challenge. But I know that my opponent and some of them were behind it because we've seen information that has come back, which is fine,
That's what this is politics.
So I felt like if y'all went through all this trouble, you must deem me a viable candidate.
Absolutely.
So
not just a viable candidate, a threat.
A threat, yes. I was trying to, yes.
Yeah,
a threat.
Listen, let's call a spade because one thing that we know, especially as Black women, we are often never even considered in our society, right? One of the things I have always said over and over again: Black women are not at the bottom of the totem pole. We've been holding it up. Right. We've been the backbone of our democracy. We've held every element of our society accountable for the ideals that we say this country stands on. But we also are fully aware when we walk into spaces that they think we don't belong in, they try to discredit us without thinking that we, like you said, do our due diligence to run for office. They be thinking we not very smart, Kim.
I know.
And I don't know how many more ways we got to show them over and over again that as a group, Granted, we got some good, we got some bad, just like in every other demographic, right? But as a
Yes.
group, we have been incredibly resilient in the face of misogyny, in the face of racism, in the face
Absolutely.
of sexism. And why don't y'all understand that it's in our DNA to stand up to stupid? Why don't they
That's
get
exactly
that?
right. That's exactly right.
So when Lindsay was telling me about you, and was hot about it, right? Because that's Lindsay. He was hot
Yep.
about it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna pay attention because I don't think I don't know if I had met you yet, or I don't know if we had a relation. I know we didn't have a relationship, but I was like, well, let me check sis out. Man, when you came with your folder, you had your folder and they had nothing. They just looked stupid. They literally thought, from what I could tell, I wasn't in the room, I was at home, but what I could tell, they thought you weren't going to be prepared. That you didn't know what you were talking about, and that they could intimidate you.
That's exactly right.
I'm gonna need old ass Heritage Foundation people to understand. If y'all ain't figured it out, Black women are not easily intimidated. We done been through the worst America could throw at people, and you challenging me on a ballot? Man, look. Okay, this is supposed to be your interview. I'm sorry.
But no, Dana. You know what? And I'll tell you this: the only fear I had in this was how those hearing officers would see this, because I don't know them. I didn't know anything about them. And I wasn't sure, because how we can get railroaded sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot of times as Blacks, and I have been, but I tell you that what happened in that hearing affected so many people. There's still people coming up to me in grocery stores, in restaurants, saying, I am so inspired by the way you fought and how calm you were. You wasn't emotional. You weren't, confused. You were prepared and you were calm and you were intentional. And I said, yes, because I had done my something my dad always, have your documentation.
Yeah.
Documentation is important. I stress it every day in my office. If you don't have documentation, it weakens your defense. It weakens your case.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is funny because the Democrat caucus had got an attorney for me. And so that morning I went to breakfast with them, and before we went to the hearing. So I sent in my packet so they could make copies the night before, the hearing officers. And so I said, well, is my attorney going to be meeting us at the hearing room? And she was like, no, she's not coming. I'm like, what? Said she read your packet and said, she don't need to come.
Okay.
She said, you got this.
That's what's up.
Said, you got this. And so I felt good about it. And so a lot of people, it was so funny, the comments. I mean, this thing was shared so many times in our community and everywhere. A lot of my housing authority friends, they all seen it. So a lot of people were like, the first 5 minutes I was sweating. I was like, oh my God. Oh, this looks bad for Kim. And they said, you just sat there all calm. I said, yeah, because I knew it didn't look bad for me. I knew the stuff that they were saying was incorrect.
Right.
I'm not the CEO for no reason. I know my organization. How are you going to tell me how I get paid and what positions I hold? I am their chief executive officer.
They trying to tell you who you were.
I have to know this. Yes. It's 2 jobs. It's, she started talking about forms. They didn't do their homework. They thought that they was going to prepare a binder and make me afraid. Like they had all their stuff. They didn't even have stuff in all those things on all those pages. And so, but after I came, it's kind of like, you ever seen Dateline when the prosecution come out and you're like, oh man, there's no way in the world they're innocent, and then here comes the defense, right, and they put a different spin. I felt like that, and at the end all she could say is, I didn't make the binders.
I remember that. I remember that. I didn't put the
I
binders
didn't, I
together.
didn't prepare the binders. So, and this was someone that was highly revered among legal entities.
Well, and if I'm full disclosure, the person that they had brought in to be the opposition attorney, we used to share a mic together on Wish TV. We were both on All Indiana Politics together. They would pair us up together. You know, I was the Democrat and she was the Republican. And so I watched it and I could, I'm not going to speak for her, but what I could see was she was not happy. like don't set me up to be like looking like this, because I got a reputation to protect. So I think they set her up. I don't know what they did over there, but I knew I have a relationship with the attorney, and I could tell that she was not well when she left that. When she got up and walked out and it was time for her to go, I could see the expression on her face. And so I'm really proud of, not that I didn't expect you to, like, I always expect us to be prepared. I'm usually shocked when we as Black women are not prepared. That's when I'm shocked.
Amen.
Yes. And I knew you were prepared, but I was so proud that you didn't give up. Your preparedness wasn't what had me thinking about it. It was, you are the CEO of your organization. You do have all these other things that you're working on. What I was afraid was, you was like, you know what? This ain't worth my time or effort. I don't need to give my energy to this, right? Because there are just things I say, Kim, I don't have time. I don't have the energy for this. I'm not for
Hello, Data.
You know what I'm saying? I just don't have the energy for this. But you didn't give up. And you said, nah. Let's go. Let's knuckle up. Knuckle your buck, baby. And you did that. And not that I need to be, not that I need to say that I'm proud of you, and not that I need to say that I know you inspire people, but I want to give you your flowers as someone who watched from afar and was like, sis, you did that. You took their best shot and then knocked them out. And this is why I do this show, right?
Thank you.
Because
yes.
We could talk about policies, and I know that, you know, you care about healthcare and housing and communities and all the things, but people got a chance after you tell this story, and when they find out about it, they're going to know your resiliency, they're going to know your character. And to me, that speaks just as much about your campaign and your candidacy as any of the policies that you care about.
Amen. Thank you so much. And I was so happy about young ladies coming up and saying, I'm voting now. I know now. This gives me a reason to go register. Mm-hmm. This gives me a reason to go vote for you, to support you. And just that's the impact. Mm-hmm. You know, we win regardless, because if the impact has been made, I've been able to bring in a great team of women and men, you know, to work on my campaign. And I feel like, you know, all these years there's been rocky roads, there's been a lot, but it's not in vain. I feel like a difference has been made. And I just say, if your life has been touched or changed by me in any way, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for impact.
Yeah.
And because, Dana, I'm 58 years old. I've got my retirement is set. I just need to work a few more years just because I want to get it up. But why would I even want to entertain anything like this when I can just be done here?
You could be chilling. You could be chilling.
That tells you something. It's like, and my neighbor, he came running across the yard. I was getting ready to cut my grass. And he was like, I just wanted to say congratulations again. He said, but he said, I just worry because why would you even want to do something like this? And I looked at him, I said, well, you're a God-fearing man. I said, what do you do when God calls you?
See,
what do you do? Do you say, no, I don't want to be bothered with it because there's so much, strife and fighting and everything? I said, there's been politics since the beginning of time. I said, and it will always be. I said, but we have to be different. We have to be community minded. And I said, and that's my call. I said, and I'm not going to be discouraged because someone else feels like the job is too big or too much for me. it's not their show. These are the steps that have been ordered for me. I have to walk this path.
I feel that. And like you said something just now that resonates with me so much when you said, just because things get hard, don't mean I get to pack up and go home. And like,
Yes.
I hear a lot of these folks sometimes, sis, that be like, oh, I didn't get my person out of the primary, so I'm gonna pack up and go home. Well, wait a second. Then what was you doing it for? Were you doing it because you really wanted change, or were you doing it as a vanity project? You know what I'm saying? Like, literally, and we've been going for a minute, and I know a lot of people are like, well, what are our policy stances? I'm sure they can find your policy stances on your website, right? Okay. Anyway,
yes.
One of the things, like when I ran for office, I was mad about a thing, but when you start talking to people and understanding what their concerns are, your platform, it shifts and it morphs. And I thought, Kim, that I was running for office because the divine was calling me to be an elected official. Nah, the divine wasn't calling me to be an elected official. The divine was calling me to understand what people who run for office go through so that I can be a place or a source of a resource for these candidates, right? So that there's someone out here advocating for the ones that don't get any publicity. They're not on anybody's special list, right? I feel like I needed to understand what it was that y'all go through so I could do the work that I'm doing now. And like you said, when the divine calls you, ain't nothing you can do about it. I thought I was supposed to be the deputy chair of engagement for a long time. Nope. That was just to get my name out there. The party as a part of the party. Now I'm legit, supposedly, but now I'm traveling all over the state, and then people get to know me, blah, blah, blah. And then when the party didn't want me to be the deputy chair anymore, it was like, oh, okay, what I'm supposed to do? Oh, wait. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, whether you give me a title or not. And I just wanted to reiterate that because your story is something that a lot of people need to hear. Just because things get tough does not mean you take your ball and go home. Life is full of obstacles, right? You either go around them, you go under, you go over them, or you go through them. But you don't stop. You don't let people knock you off your mark, and you didn't do that. You let people, I'm steady. I'm steady Eddie. And I just wanted to pour that on you.
Well, and I have, like I said, been in a lot of fights when it comes to doing this work. And in the middle of a lot of things, I ended up with breast cancer. And I said, I'm not going to hide this because somebody else needs to see me going through that and not giving up and fighting. And I became like a mentor for some ladies that were going through it. And the hospital would refer me out to people to talk to about my fight. And so all of these things formed, all my storms formed for this day. And just like what you were saying, and I was telling my son this, I said, I'm not saying that God has said you're going to the state house.
Right.
He's put me on this path, and this is the path that I have to be on to get there. But at the end, he might have something else in mind.
Exactly. It's not the outcome. It's the path.
Yes. This run might be for a whole different reason.
You speaking my literally, but I think because of the year and look, everybody can do what they want to when they talk about their faith and their divine or whatever. I'm gonna turn it back to the political side. Because of the year that we are in and the level of this disgruntlement that citizens have. This is a good year to take this seat because people are literally tired of being mistreated by the people that they elected to office. I'm not saying God said you go to have this position, but from a political standpoint, now's the best time as any time.
Yes. And I believe I'm going.
That's it.
I have just, I want to, but I don't want to just, like I was telling some ladies, I said, they were like, you do so much, Kim, you're everywhere. I said, it's not tied to this race.
Right.
This is what I've been doing. This is a continuance of the level of service that I've already given my community. I just needed it elevated so that I can have a bigger impact, and I can start working on, like you were saying, policy issues and legislation that's going to help improve our lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm just me. I am, like I said, I call myself a hometown girl that cares about the community and that has fought her way through the ranks and that has a seat at many tables, but I don't sit there to kowtow to their agenda. If I can't bring the agenda of my community, other Blacks that are being sidelined and are, I don't need to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not there speaking just for my interest. I'm lifting up the ones that need a voice. Everybody don't know how to navigate in these spaces. Mm-hmm. And thank God I've been able to do that and do it successfully and made change. Let me tell you, when I went to the Housing Authority, Dana, HUD was getting ready to take it over. HUD was getting ready. You know what? You saw what happened in Indianapolis, right? With IHA.
Yeah.
My good friend is there that I met along the way, Vonda Bean, to come in and try to rescue it. And that was the same way with the Housing Authority. A lot of people tried to deter me. Oh, you don't want to go down there. There's so much going on. And I said, nope, that's right up my alley. We were getting ready to be taken over in receivership. Department of Justice had came in. Fair Housing Law Center, HUD was in there. I mean, it was a mess. We had all these vacancies. We were bleeding. We were, the tenants even got together and filed a lawsuit.
Wow.
But we cleaned that place up. And I did it because I said, Anderson deserves better. Mm-hmm. And we need a housing authority that's going to be working for the people and not, again, special interest and being taken advantage of. You can't move people into an apartment that has blood stains on the wall because someone was just stabbed to death in there and you didn't even try to clean it up. They look at poor people or people that are on assistance and things like that and think that they deserve less. I made a vow, Dana, that our properties were going to be just as good as anybody else's.
That's it.
And that you won't be able to tell in these neighborhoods that those are housing authority properties. I wanted people to have pride. I wanted them to feel pride when they invite their families over, or to feel good about bringing their, significant others, boyfriend, girlfriend to their properties. We work with single fathers, with mothers. So we do a lot of work. We got family self-sufficiency. I've seen people coming off our program and becoming homeowners. A girl just closed on a property last week. So we're changing lives. But again, I need to be able to elevate this to a new level to help more people.
I love it. You know what? Wow. Obviously, Kim, I could talk to you all day long. You are an inspiration. You have inspired me in this conversation. Tell the people where they can find you.
All right. So you can find me at my website is Vote for Townsend, TOWNSEND.com. One word, votefortownsend.com. My email is ktownsenddistrict36@gmail. And I even have a little headquarters that was donated by a wonderful couple in town, 1601 Arrow Avenue, Suite 3, Anderson, Indiana, 46018. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, mainly Instagram, just personally, but my Facebook page is Kim Townsend for House District 36. You'll find that.
I love it.
And yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much for taking a significant amount of time out of your day to talk to me here on Turn Left. Guys, listen, this is were you inspired? I'm inspired. This candidate is doing the work in the community, has had successes in the community, has faced challenges and overcome them. Now she needs your support. I need you to go to her website. I need you to sign up to be a volunteer. I need you to click her donate link, and I need you to become a donor to her campaign. Because look, as wonderful a candidate as she is, that they call it political science for a reason. So she's going to need your help. So I need you to go click on the link. It's right there, right there. Click on the link and donate to her campaign. If no matter what you can give, $5, $10 or $10 a month, become a monthly recurring donor, because we need folks like this who actually care about people in the State House. She actually cares about people, and she's demonstrated it, and actions speak louder than words, and she can't be bullied. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I'm Indiana's own Dana Black. Turn left. I will holler at you next time. Peace. Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions, executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by Dorian and 22 from Pixabay.